Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Whitney Curry. I am the Chief Marketing Officer at Pacaso, and I'm so delighted to be here today with Cheryl Rose, one of our most beloved owners in our owner community. We're not supposed to have favorites, but I think I do a little bit. And
I
Cheryl,
won't tell anyone.
you're at the top of my list. So thank you so much for joining today.
My pleasure. I'm happy to be here.
That's great. And can you tell us a little bit about where you own your Pacaso?
Yes, my husband and I own our Pacaso home in Islamorada, Florida. So it's midway between Miami and Key West, and just a wonderful getaway spot for us.
That's amazing. And Cheryl, when she's not enjoying time at her Pacaso, is a very accomplished woman. She owns a financial advisory firm and other businesses, and has a couple adult children as well. So you have a lot going on, and we are so fortunate to have you as a part of our owner community, and that you're taking extra time to be with us today. So thank you again so much.
My pleasure.
As we dive in today, I like to start at the beginning. Can you tell me a little bit about how you discovered Pacaso?
Yes, interestingly, so most of my clients, they qualify as what we call ultra affluent. So they might have 9-figure balance sheets, and they have inherently multiple homes. And we help them navigate and see what tool it takes for them to do that. And I actually my husband and I had been looking for something down in the Florida Keys for a couple of years and just couldn't find the right property. But one thing I was committed to was I was not going to let it sit unutilized. I just think that's wasteful, and I see a lot of that in my business. And so, we had looked at several pieces of real estate. Nothing really kind of checked all my boxes. And then I had a client who already owns 3 homes call me to say, "Hey, I need a little bit of help. I want someplace I can go ski, but I really don't want to buy another home." And I said, "Hey, I don't blame you. Let me look at some different models." And I reached out to a friend of mine who suggested Pacaso to me. So I took a look, and I happened to see this beautiful home in Islamorada. And I think it was within a week and a half that my husband and I actually bought it. We did a Zoom tour. So we didn't even make it down. We were like it checked absolutely every box possible. And everything that I wanted, plus then some, and much more space. So it really just seemed like the perfect thing for us.
Wow. And so you'd previously been looking, but couldn't quite find that right fit. Can you unpack that a little bit for me? What was it that was making a whole home not seem like it was going to work for your family?
Well, price wise, I was looking to invest about $1 million or $1.25 million. So thinking, and for that price, we were going to get a condo. We weren't really going to get a house. And even the condos I looked at all needed updating. They needed management, just a lot of investment and time. I don't have time. I have a couple of businesses I'm running. I have things to do and that really isn't my highest and best use. So it just that, plus when I saw what I could get for less than that amount and the amount of time that I want to spend down here anyway, it just seemed like a no-brainer. I mean, you get quite a bit of house we own 2/8 or a quarter share for a quarter of the cost plus quarter of the operating expenses. Is just a way more cost-effective model for us.
And I'm assuming, the condos you were looking at, I'm sure were, a much smaller footprint too. And for having your family join you and all of that, it seems like you really got more for your money.
Oh, yes.
That's fantastic. Now, when you had your interest peaked and you were already in that second home state of mind, what was the virtual tour experience like for you? And what were some of the questions that you were looking to validate through that tour, and how did it go?
It's funny. I actually think just the pictures on the website really had us mostly sold as it was. And it just confirmed. And actually, when we did our virtual tour, there were other owners in the house at the time, and they kind of got out of the way. So the rep could do his job of giving us the tour. But we saw it kind of personal. They clearly had young kids. There were some toys around. I started to be able to visualize that this was truly a home, not just a stopover or hotel or timeshare kind of situation. This was really a different model.
That's so great. And I love that. During the tour, did they show you the owner storage?
Yes, they did.
Yeah. So for folks who don't know on the call, we have every Pacaso home comes with dedicated storage that locks it's for each owner. And to your point around it feeling like home versus a stopover, like you can keep whatever you want there. Maybe it's toys for the kids, your dog's favorite, stuffies, board games you like to play, any of that. So all those small details really add up to creating that feeling of home. That's super special.
We have family pictures that we put out every time
Oh,
we come.
oh,
Yeah.
I love that. That's awesome. A little 8x10 for the mantle. That's great. Well, tell me a little bit about when you completed the tour, the house had you wowed, but were there any parts of the co-ownership process model or like Pacaso that you had questions about during those days when you were in that purchase, really in the serious purchase process?
I would say my head, being a little bit of a skeptic, always went to this is too good to be true kind of thing, because it really did. I mean, a house with a pool, with a boat dock, with access to a private beach and a golf cart to get there, and 5 bedrooms, and it's beautiful and new, and every amenity in the kitchen. I mean, that's just check for me. And so I kept thinking it just can't be that good. I wonder if we actually get there, because I think it was maybe 2 weeks later that we did our first visit, which was very exciting. And I remember walking into the home, and I was just overwhelmed by how beautiful. It's right behind me, so hopefully everybody's enjoying my house. Here's my kitchen over one shoulder and my pool over the other. But it was just so beautiful. And I after our property manager left that day, I just started crying, and I looked at my husband and I said, I can't believe we have a second home this beautiful. It's just really special.
Oh, that's great. Those are those moments I want to bottle up for us and for you. That is really special. I'm so happy that you've been able to experience that, not just one moment, but reoccurring moments like that. I'm sure with your friends and family, when they come in for the first time too, and are looking at you and saying, Cheryl, this is your house. That's amazing.
Yeah, really. And then add on top of it, just not having to be the one worrying about it. So when we leave, I tell people all the time, I feel so relaxed when I'm there because I'm not the one managing all this stuff. I am at my day house in Cincinnati. I'm, constantly worrying about the yard and this and that. But when we're down there, as my husband likes to joke, we call 1-800-RAMON, and Ramon is our property manager, and he is the best. And, it's almost like you can kind of, here's the problem, and then he takes care of it. So we've really been thrilled with the property management aspect of this, that it is truly turnkey. We can come down, we schlep our stuff out, we enjoy our prep time there, and then we tuck it back in our locker and we go on our way.
I think that is one of the most magical elements of our ownership experience, is the single dedicated point of contact for you. Like you were saying, it's 1-800-RAMON. Other markets, it's, 1-800-TIM, so to speak. And that person just knows your home inside and out, and they're caring for it. And what's so neat on the company side, to chat with our employees who care for the homes with such pride of ownership and really a sense of wanting to make it everything perfect for you when you arrive. And I love that you feel that attention to detail. That's really special. Yeah. Now, Cheryl, as you know, our ownership starts in 1/8 increments, and you decided to purchase a quarter. So I would love to hear about how you got to that point. What made you decide to go from 1/8 to 1/4 ownership?
There were a couple of things that pushed us in that direction. And one was really about how much I mentally had budgeted to do this. And we ended up paying $888,000 for the 2 shares. I think that was what we paid. So keep in mind, I'm thinking $1 million, I'll invest in something. So I'm investing less, I'm getting more, and I'm getting more ease in my life to do it. So that made it a no-brainer. And the other aspect of it was really having flexibility in scheduling. I think, realistically, we know we're not going to use our whole quarter time, and that's okay with us. I think we use, out of 88 days, we used 66 our first year, which is great for us, but I have it set up so I can work remotely down there. So can my husband, and we just have everything we need. But we also didn't want to give up thinking about not going other places. So trying to balance that, but we keep wanting to come back there. So.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Well, you are a financial advisor and wealth manager by day. Have any of the other, can you share a little bit about some of the other clients or friends of yours who have decided to become Pacaso owners?
Yeah. I actually have a client and dear friend that just bought a flat in London through Pacaso. So very excited for that family. And, that was a dream home. And again, it was just an easy way to get access to the property they wanted. And he, like me, had a very clear list of items that he wanted in that, and ultimately found a flat that matched all those. So I'm really excited to see how they enjoy that over their life, and they're with their kids and grandkids. And
That's amazing. Well, as that this owner came to us through you, and I'm really proud to say that really large percentage of our business actually comes from referrals. And that is the greatest form of a compliment, because it means that our owners are happy and satisfied and feel proud putting their name behind our product to tell their friends. And you're just a shining example of that. So before we transition to Q&A from some of my Pacaso colleagues, I'd love to know if there's any, final words you would say to anyone on this call who's considering a Pacaso.
Yeah, I think just be open to it. I think the website does a great job of being able to really look at the properties up close and really get a sense for what they are. And definitely think about the ease aspect of that, because, the one thing that I think is most precious for so many of us in this world is time now. And so the time that I don't have to spend frustrated or worried. And frankly, I don't even worry too much about hurricanes coming. Like last year, that was a bit of and I'm like, well, if it happens, I'm not the one that has to manage it. I would be sad, but it'll be okay. So think about that as one aspect of it. And then, from an investment standpoint, I felt like, you're buying an asset. So one of the other decision points for us when I was looking at what it was going to take for us to rent what we wanted for a month, that's about what we pay in operating expenses for the whole year. And then, the rest of the money I invested in the property to me is investment. If we want to sell that asset, we can sell that asset. So I just think it is a way more cost-effective way than just straight up renting. And we would look at doing another eighth somewhere else, because it's just been that good of an experience for us. So,
well, I can't help myself but ask, where would your next Pacaso be then?
I've never been to Lake Tahoe. That would be of interest. Also Spain. If there was something beautiful in Italy, that might get me as well. So who knows? It's fun to dream.
So, but we do have many Pacaso owners who own 2, 3, and even 4 Picassos. So it's a collection, just like art, but of homes. Well, Cheryl, thank you so much. I'd like to invite you to stay on the Zoom, and then also invite 3 of my colleagues to join. So please come off camera. It's an all ladies here today. We have Laura Cumberland, our Chief Operating Officer, Alicia Davis, Senior Director of Product, and Megan Licata, our Senior Counsel, who answers legal questions for many of our prospective buyers. So thank you, ladies, for joining today. I will begin with Megan, and I'm going to do my best. We have quite a robust stream of questions coming in, so I'm going to try to get to everything, and we'll outline at the end, if I don't get to everyone's questions, how we'll come back to you. But to open up, Megan, can you describe how ownership is structured at Pacaso? We're having some questions come in around this broader topic.
Yeah. So we make it super simple. What happens is when we identify a home that's Pacaso worthy, we say, just like Cheryl's home, we purchase the property in a limited liability company. And then when you purchase a share, what you're doing is getting 1/8 of that company that only owns the property. So it's not direct real estate ownership. It's sort of an indirect ownership through this LLC. And that's actually great for you because you don't have to file a deed. You can stay private and anonymous. And also the LLC structure allows us to make it, whatever we want, so that it can really be, when you're there, it'll feel like you're the only owner. And that's because your LLC agreement, which evidences your ownership, it gives you everything about how the property is run, how, each owner gets to use it, what are your rights, what are your obligations. So it's an indirect ownership, but because it's the only asset that LLC has, it really feels like you own the property without the headache of buying and owning property.
That's great. And Megan, do the owners in the LLC, do they know each other? Do they not? Can you talk about that?
No, they don't, which is actually part of the service we provide. So we found over the course of our, first couple of years in operation that most of our owners are buying a Pacaso because they don't want to deal with co-owners. Like a lot of people, throughout history have bought homes with friends and family and stuff, and that is its own set of headaches. So we found that our owners like that they don't know they're co-owners. They don't have their inbox flooded with what's going on, or can I please swap my date, or putting them on the spot or anything like that. So all of our co-owners are there. We keep all their information private from their co-owners. But like Cheryl mentioned, your communication with your individual home manager is always open. They're texting and calling and open. So if you have a concern, it's not like what do I do? I don't know my co-owners. You're always in contact with your home manager. And then your home manager, if necessary, reaches out to your co-owners to resolve the issue. Maybe it's something that you want to change and a vote, it goes to a vote, or maybe you just want to more information about something. We are that point of contact between all your co-owners. So it's really like you feel like you're there by yourself, and we take on the hassle of refereeing anything amongst the co-owners.
It's almost that, as Cheryl said, 1-800-RAMON for all things.
Yeah. And I see all those communications go through. So it is constant. It's not like calling, you're on hold with somebody for a long time, or, press 1 for whatever. No, it's like they're all perfectly in contact with each other.
That's amazing. Now, can you talk about, not to dwell on the negative, but let's just help our prospective buyers think around every corner. What happens to the LLC if Pacaso goes away?
No problem. So I'm a lawyer, so I also always think of worst case scenario. I totally get that. The good news is when you buy into a Pacaso, you're an owner of the entity. And once we sell all 8 shares, Pacaso doesn't own any part of the home. We have no equity in the home or the LLC. So we're just there to provide the service to you to enjoy your home. Now, the good news about that is, if you were to go buy shares, stock on the stock market or whatever, and the company goes under, it pretty much wipes out your investment, right? There's nothing left for you to own if the company's gone. But when you buy a Pacaso, even if we're gone, obviously that's not best case scenario for anybody here, but you'll continue to own that share in the LLC, and the LLC will continue to own the property. So most likely what will happen is you and your co-owners will decide to hire a new manager, and they will step into our shoes to provide the same services, but it doesn't impact your actual equity in the home or the LLC.
Thank you. That's good to know. And like you said, that was very much by design.
Doomsday, but just so you get protected even in that doomsday scenario.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. I may call on you back, Megan, so don't go anywhere. But I am going to transition over to Lara. Lara, there's some wonderful questions in the chat about resale. And, we're a marketplace for co-ownership, and foundational to being a marketplace is the ability to resell with ease. So I'd love for you to explain our resale process, how it works, and what we've been seeing so far.
Yeah. So like Megan said, you own your share, and you're able to list that at any time once all the shares in the home are sold out. We have a dedicated advisor who works with you on figuring out how to price that share based on comps in the market and what resales in that home and that market have sold for before. They work with you on how to prepare to launch it on the site and get ready to market the property. And then we market and sell it on your behalf. We know where our sales team, our broad sales team is just like with any inventory in the portfolio is working with prospective buyers to bring them to the share, touring your property as necessary, all to make it easy for you to move that should you want to hopefully upgrade to a different Pacaso. But even if you want to take your liquidity and go, we try to make that as easy as possible for you.
Related to resale, for the first year, any owner who would like to transfer their ownership to another property can do so for no additional charge. So what that means is if you purchase, a home in Palm Springs and you're 6 months in, you're like, oh, I actually don't want Palm Springs, I want Tahoe. You give us a call and we say, no problem. That's the benefit of being a Pacaso owner, and you can transfer your ownership to that other property. So just a little fun fact for folks within that first year. Lara, can you talk about the prep that an owner has to do? Like, do they need to stage or take new photos for a resale, or how does that work?
No. So actually Whitney's team takes care of all of that for us. Staging the home, the homes are beautifully staged sort of all the time, as Cheryl mentioned, Ramon in her case, but our home managers kind of across the portfolio are keeping those homes beautiful all the time and well maintained so that the value of the asset is retained over time as well, which is super important. And when it's time to resell, we are taking all the photos, the video, putting it on our website, doing all of the marketing activity on your behalf as part of our role in being the marketer of that share.
Yes, that's true. Well, you mentioned the fit and finish of the homes being pretty exceptional. I would love to hear a little bit. You lead the design org rolls up into you and under your leadership. So can you talk about how we think about appointing the homes? And then Cheryl, I'll put you on deck. I'd love to hear if there's any features that for you feel extra special in your home design wise.
So yeah, as Whitney mentioned, we have an in-house design team. They do everything possible. We're getting these homes as ready as quickly as possible, for you. Literally every aspect. So obviously all the big items, the furnishings, but even everything from, if it's body wash in the shower to, coffee spoons in the drawer. I mean, all of that is there for you when you arrive. One of the things that is for me, I'm also a Pacaso owner, was very important, is that there's also coffee ready for you the next morning when you wake up. So we try to think of everything to make it really easy for you just to roll in and enjoy the property, and not have to sort of stop on your way to make sure you've got everything that you need. And as Whitney mentioned, the homes are beautiful. You can see kind of are all of our Picassos and our backgrounds here. It's a really, really high end of finishing and fit, and we really pride ourselves on how beautiful they all are.
It's gorgeous, and I'll add for hours. We have, I don't know if you can even notice this, but these nautical lights in the background really link to the area, and lots of driftwood and natural, just comfortable, very much a high design home, and way better than I could have done. So thank you.
That's a nice one you got. Yeah.
If anyone's ever worked to design their own home, it's not a quick process. You have to make the designs, order, wait for delays, shipping, all of that. And I mean, you said, Cheryl, your first stay was what, a couple weeks after you purchased, and everything was there for you. That's pretty neat. One last design question for you, Laura. Say fast forward 5 years down the road and like the pillows are starting to look shabby. How do we think and plan for that from the Pacaso side?
So one of the things that we focus on is sort of an annual refresh, so that the home sort of stays fresh. And this is completely up to the owners, of course. As Megan said, you'll own your home completely, and we're just there to bring it bring it on. So for like small items, we're just constantly replacing those, making sure that they stay as in good repair, and as sort of current as possible from a design standpoint. And then if it's time to replace the sofa, that's something that you as owners will vote on. We present you options, and we facilitate all of that process. But you'll have the decision-making capability as to, how and when and what to spend.
Great. Now, there's a question in the chat about other services that can go with the home: a yacht, a car, maybe a golf cart. Laura, can you share about what we have today available in that vein?
Yeah, so we're always looking at more. But in high demands, we have, Duffy boats in some markets. That's really important in Newport, for example. We have golf carts and other destinations. We're looking at things potentially, cars, for example, these are tricky to manage, but I think we're always kind of looking at, how do we kind of make sure that you have all the amenities at your Pacaso that you would have if you owned that home completely. And these are things that you would choose to have in those markets. And so those are just a couple of the examples. And then we've got great relationships actually with other, rental companies and other sort of vendors in market. If you want to, do more, I want to, rent a ski boat, for the weekend with your family and do a little tubing. We've got people to help with that too.
Well, thank you so much, Laura. And we really appreciate all the hard work and love that goes from your team into caring for the homes and also designing them. Before we move off the resale topic fully, there were some questions around like specifics around average resale return. So I want to speak to that. On average, our average resale gain is right around 10-12%. So thank you so much for whoever asked that question. And there you go. All right, moving on. It would not be a Pacaso webinar or call of any type if we didn't talk about scheduling. So Alicia Davis, I would love for you to explain how scheduling works at Pacaso.
Totally. This is such a big question. So when you become a Pacaso owner, you get access to the Pacaso Owner app for your home. And it really is a one-stop shop for all things scheduling. You can see real-time availability in your home, and you can book and modify your stays. You can view all of our scheduling rules, and you can also see all of your stay details right in the app. The Owner app is powered by our Smart Stay scheduling technology, which enables both flexibility for you as well as equity for all owners of the home. And the algorithm that we have and the rules that we've built around are managed on a few different levels. One is like the overarching rules across all homes, but then we also have market level rules and in some instances, home level rules. And over time, our Smart Stay scheduling algorithm has been refined based on owner feedback as well as historical behavioral data on how our owners are booking. On average, owners spend about 6 to 7, go to the home around 6 to 7 times per 1/8 ownership. And you can book either 4 or 6 stays on the calendar in advance. We also have some rules around special dates and peak seasons that can be held at any one time, just to make sure, again, that all owners are getting equitable time. And we also have the concept of short notice stays. And so any time that's available in the next 30 days is actually considered free stays for you. So if there is some time in the next month that you can stay and there is availability, you can book that time and it doesn't count towards any of your maximum stay counts. I will also put a plug in for our app. If you do have the app or haven't downloaded it yet, I would highly recommend it, because if you go to the app today and you go to any one of our homes, you can scroll about halfway down the page and you'll see book a sample stay with the option to check out our ownership scheduling demo, which actually flips you to a demo version of the owner app, where you can go and play around with the calendar. You can book, sample stays, see what that looks like, to get a better sense of what it truly is like to be an owner at a Pacaso. So
that's great. Now, the team, I know, because working with you and your amazing team, that there are a lot of people internally at Pacaso who think about scheduling and the ongoing innovations that happen with scheduling. Can you speak to that a little bit? How we are always innovating and how that shows up for our customer?
Absolutely. So, when Pacaso first became into existence, we had, a set of rules, Smart Stay rules, with not a lot of data because we didn't have any owners yet. There were a couple of things that we knew, right? We knew that we did need to have a set of advanced stays that were allowed, because we didn't want, one owner booking up the whole calendar. We also knew that special dates would matter, right? Like, 4th of July, Christmas, New Year's. These are all dates that maybe multiple owners want to book. So how do we manage that? So we do have some rules around special dates. What we didn't know when we first launched Smart Stay, that became very clear as we got owners into the platform through feedback, but also behavioral data, is that there were specific times of years in some markets that were really valuable. People were booking really far in advance, like ski season in Tahoe is a good example, right? Where the ski season may only be 10 to 12 weeks. And, we had owners that were booking 4 weeks during that time, which meant not all 8 owners could actually get access to ski season, which isn't super fair, and a lot of people do want to spend some time on the slopes in Tahoe. And so this actually really inspired us to launch the Sun and Ski Guarantee, which is scheduling rules that really allow equitable booking of peak season time. And so, one of the things that came out of this initiative was, well, what is peak season? Some homes don't have any peak seasons in some of our markets, where a home like Lake Tahoe actually has, or a market like Lake Tahoe has 2 peak seasons, summer and also winter. And so in defining those peak seasons, we actually used our behavioral data through booking trends to see where those peak seasons really were. And we defined the market level rules around those. And so, all of our owners can rest assured that they will have access to book during peak season times if your home falls in a market that does have set peak seasons. So that's a good example, I think, of where we've innovated on the algorithm and made sure that our rules are, equitable, and we're continuing to do that, obviously, as much as we can.
Well, let's test our work. Cheryl, how do you feel that your scheduling experience has been? Do you feel like you're getting enough dates both in peak and non-peak?
Yeah, I feel like it's been good. We see ourselves being very flexible. And so I think normally we would have thought, oh, we'll just go in the winter. But no, we love going year round. And actually, I found a lot of benefit to that. So, yes, we get our winter visits down there, but we also come in the summer. We're going in July for 10 days. And I'm so excited to get down there to our home. It's a whole different place then and less crowded and just fun to be there.
It's funny you bring that up. We actually hear that a lot, that owners end up starting to like borderline prefer the non-peak season because they feel like a local, and the peak seasons, there's more tourists, and then you've really connected yourself with the community and are appreciating the, fewer crowds and things. So that's great. I'm glad to hear it. Alicia, just a couple like rapid fire questions related to scheduling that I'll ask you back to back. First, does Pacaso allow rentals? No rentals. Okay. And what if someone wants to gift time to a friend or a family member? How does that work?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we have heard from our owners consistently that they bring guests, they bring their loved ones to their home. And that can be a little bit of a logistical nightmare if your guest arrives before you do, or, they want to share the Wi-Fi password and things like that, which all of that sits in the owner app. And so we did launch a guest experience about 6 months ago, where owners can actually invite their guests to their stay. And then the guests can sign up, download the app, and they actually get a limited view of what the owners see. So they can see all their stay details, they can see the access code, the Wi-Fi, all of that within the app, and also gives their guests kind of a sneak peek into what it's like to be an owner.
Yeah, the guests get to talk to 1-800-RAMON before they arrive so that Cheryl doesn't have to answer all those pesky questions.
Exactly.
Perfect. Thank you. And then lastly, what if someone wanted to book 6-9 months together at one time? Does that fit with the Pacaso model?
So we do have stay lengths. That are requirements as part of smart stay scheduling. So, for a 1/8 ownership, you can book a consecutive stay up to 14 nights. For Cheryl, she could book a 28-day stay because she has 1/4 ownership, and that goes up to 42 nights if you own half of the home. The reason that we have that is because we do want to make sure that all owners can access the home at various points in the year. And so if one owner booked up a full 6-month period, that might not be super equitable for the other owners, even if they did own half the home. And so, although we do have stay length limits, you can, book, if you did own half the home, 42 night stay multiple times during the year based on the number of advanced stays that you have. So
great. Thank you. I want to acknowledge we're at time. We're going to go for about 5 more minutes with just a few other rapid fire questions since there's been such robust activity in the chat. The next question quickly is going to go back to Megan. Megan, folks are curious about the tax implications and how we think about legal tax framework. Could you elaborate on that?
Sure. So I'll start by saying just, lawyer, that everybody should consult their own tax advisors when they really buy anything. But the good news is we have a lot of resources internally. So I do get a lot of questions from buyers about taxes. And I will say the same thing that I tell them. We can get you pretty solid information given your individual circumstances and whatever that we can share with you, always with the caveat that you should speak to your own specialist. But the answer is it's pretty simple. If you buy a Pacaso, every year you'll get a K-1. The evidence is your ownership, and that's pretty much all you should need. That's when it comes to personal taxes. I mean, generally, when it comes to when you usually own a property, there's a lot you have to do to make sure you're staying up to date with the required taxes. We do all of that for you. So we have a team of accountants that will file the taxes every year for the LLC, make sure the property taxes are getting paid, all of that stuff. So your individual tax treatment will obviously vary depending on your individual circumstances. But if you have specific questions, we will always help you with those the best we can. And when it comes to your actual ownership, those are all the taxes are handled for you.
Thank you. Now, Megan, one more question for you. We do have quite a few non-US buyers, and I know that your team works really diligently to support them. So can you talk about how that works on your end?
Yeah, we get non-US residents all the time. And the simple answer is there's not much difference on our end. Obviously, just like I mentioned, there might be international tax implications that we would have to work through together. But when it comes to purchasing your share, it's no problem. Every owner is required to go through a background check just to ensure that each co-owner is protected, right, against keeping their home safe and everything like that. But otherwise, all the standards are the same for everybody. So U.S. and non-U.S. residents go through the same process to purchase a Pacaso share. And there aren't any, or at least to date, there have not been any specific hiccups given the country of origin of our buyers.
Thank you. There are 2 points of clarification I'm seeing in the chat from prior questions, so I just want to answer really specifically. One, when your guest comes, you do not need to be there. You can gift time to them and they can be there on their own. So it could be with you. Actually, 70% of our stays, owners actually bring a guest, which is fun. Most of our homes are very larger and perfect for entertaining, but you can also gift time and have someone go without you. So that's a point of clarification. And then another question on the rental piece. The fact that we don't have rentals today is by design, and many of our owners really appreciate that. They appreciate that it's people like them, owners mindset, who've, put a down payment of 30+% to be in the home. And so there's an attention to detail and care, and also just a respect that comes from the property when you know that it's fellow owners, they're guests who are likely like-minded, and then they're coming back time and time again. You're not going to a short-term rental that you're never going to see again, so you don't care what happens to the outdoor sofa or what might be it. Okay, Laura, this next question is for you in regards to financing. We had some questions about Pacaso's current financing partners, and would love for you to speak to that a bit. And do we offer financing built into our process? We could maybe start there.
We do offer financing, 70% financing, so with 30% down at, really competitive rates. And we have multiple partners built depending on the market, but also just, for diversification that we work with to provide that financing to you.
Thank you. Well, Cheryl, someone wants to know that they said, Cheryl, there has to be another side. Tell us something that you don't like. So is there anything you've been sitting on, Cheryl, that you want your fellow potential owners to hear about Pacaso, or any final remarks there?
I'm trying to think of anything that really stands out. I mean, I think we were eyes wide open going into this, and I think we have some pet stains on one of the carpets. That's been a little bit of an irritant, but that's 1-800-RAMON, and just because if another owner damages something in the house, it is, to any of us, it's our responsibility to take care of it. So I think there's a method to kind of manage around that. But aside from that, I mean, it's really been just a joy.
No, thank you, Cheryl.
It's been a year, so.
That's amazing. Well, thank you again, Cheryl, so much for your time. And we would love to continue the conversation. We were not able to answer everyone's some questions were really specific in the chat. We do want to make sure that every question is addressed. So if your question was not answered, please email VIP@pacaso.com, and we will get back to you as soon as possible, and we will have someone follow up. Also, I would like to personally invite all of you to tour a home. If you are in a market where you can hop in your car and tour, we would love to host you. Plan a special day around you being in market, seeing a home or two to get a feel for the portfolio. Or if driving to a Pacaso is not something that logistically works, we have a very immersive virtual tour experience as well. No pressure. It's just fun. Looking at real estate is really fun. And our homes are so gorgeous. So please come on this journey with us. We would love to tour a home with you and continue this conversation. So thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. And we will be sending out a recording of this webinar in the next couple of days. So if you wanted to pass it to a friend or a spouse, you're certainly welcome to. Have a wonderful day. Thank you so much.